live. Good evening, folks. Welcome to tonight's installment of In the Pipeline, the York Theater's streaming new works segment series. The word is series. It's been a while since we last did one of these. I'm a little rusty. My name is Seth Christenfeld. I'm the York's literary manager. Literary manager is an old East Indian word corrupted by the British Navy to mean guy who sits in the green room and yells at inanimate objects all day. That's a joke for those of you who have come to the Mufties over the years and heard Jim make that similar joke, which is actually not a joke. Mufti is actually an East Indian word. But I digress. It's been a while. I'm a little rusty. Call me Rusty if you like. It's a Starlight Express reference, a show we will never do in the Mufties. We would if I were in charge, but I don't think we can really afford all the insurance with all the roller skating. As you can see, I am a little rusty at this. But welcome back. My jokes are bad, but the songs are good. Today, we're going to introduce you to the writers of two musicals in progress. And you may recognize these writers and one of the songs you'll hear tonight, because all three of these writers were contributors to last summer's installment of the York's musical theater training program. Last summer, we teamed up our young performers with emerging and established writers to create new songs or work on songs from the writers' catalogs. And all three of the writers you're going to meet tonight were part of that. So we're going to start with, we're going to start with a song from the first show we're going to be seeing tonight, which is a show called Like the Wind. It has book and lyrics by Sam Rosenblatt and music by Elspeth Collard. And we're going to start with a song from that as soon as I click the button. So enjoy.
She had eyes like summer mist, and she laughed with her arms. And oh God, when we kissed, my brain would set off fire alarms. She could sing the ABCs backwards really fast. And I guess I was convinced that somehow it would last. And her feet were too wide, like the ducks in the lake. And I could tell when she lied, because her hands would always shake. She didn't lie very often, at least not to me. And if she was a flower, then I was a honeybee, because she drew me so close. She held me so tight, and I couldn't believe how she started to ignite these feelings in me. But our time was too short, like my bangs that she cut. There's not enough to report, no. I feel that in my gut, and I hope for her smile when I close my eyes to sleep. But I know that the cost of her smile was too steep. Still, the feelings in me, well, she brought out the feelings in me.
Sam and Elspeth, welcome to In the Pipeline. How are you tonight?
We're good, thanks. Thank you. How are you?
Good. Where are folks joining us from tonight?
We're in my apartment in New York.
Excellent. So tell me a bit about Like the Wind. I've read it, so you don't. So less tell me than tell the viewers a bit about Like the Wind.
Yeah, Like the Wind is an electronica pop musical about two characters, Benny and Kai, who are queer teenagers on the run from a conversion therapy facility. So the show is really both a physical journey, kind of escaping from this physical space, and also kind of an emotional journey, escaping from the ghosts of their past and working out how to reconcile that with what they want in the future.
Great. So what was the impetus? I remember you writing about how this show had a very accelerated development path, which is always interesting when people can manage to actually write musicals really quickly. So, what was this development path that Like the Wind has had so far?
So in April of 2021, we applied very randomly to Shotgun Players' 30/30 Vision project. They're a regional theater in San Francisco.
Bay Area.
And we got accepted to write a 5-minute musical in 2 weeks, write and produce in isolation with two wonderful performers, Alia Cuadras-Contreras, who you just saw, and Mikey Friedman, who originated the role of Benny. From there, we wrote our 5-minute musical. We really loved the story. It was then called The People Were Meant to Be, which is a song that is still in the show, but no longer the title. And then 2 weeks later, we wrote the show and went to the New Musicals Lab at Christopher Newport University with a 60-ish, 65-minute draft.
Yeah.
And
still
then
one act at that point.
It was still one act at that
Crazy.
point. And then we finished writing like a 110-ish draft.
Yeah.
By December, and we did a staged reading at the Brick in Brooklyn. And now we're at about 2 hours.
Right. And the program at Christopher Newport University mentioned that's Ilana Toplitz's program, I believe she's.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's worked with us a whole bunch. She's good people, terrifically talented director, writer, woman about town, etc. So it's fascinating to see a show that has had such a quick development process and is so accomplished. That's even faster than we write our thesis musicals. And speaking of which, I have to ask, because I always ask this of fellow NYU alumni, what was the song that you guys were paired for in first year?
What a great question. We had on the Gem of the Ocean assignment, which
we did not have that. So roughly what assignment was that?
That was
adapt a character from a play.
Okay.
Yeah. It was
ours was How I Learned to Drive, which was interesting.
Yeah. It was fairly early on.
Yeah, it was October.
We were assigned a very minor character, so we're kind of like, how do we make this song exist? But we loved the process of working together. We wrote another song for fun alongside that, which is very different. But yeah, so it was very early on. Yeah, we're lucky.
Great. So we're gonna move on now to the next song, and we didn't actually get any context for the first song, but I think a lot of it was kind of clear. That's the female main character, Kai, talking about the girl who she loved and still loves. So now we're gonna move on to the second song, which is With God as My Witness. And would you mind giving us a little setup on that one?
Yeah, so With God as My Witness it was born out of a conversation we had with our cast in Newport News when we were there over the summer, and someone suggested, Matt, who's actually singing in this song, suggested the title, and then we went home and wrote it that day. So basically the context for the song is the two main characters' love interests, Ash and Dev, are trying to formulate their thoughts to write letters to Benny and Kai, not knowing that they've already left the conversion facility.
Gotcha. Okay. So let's watch With God as My Witness.
I don't know how long it's been, but I know it's been too long. I've tried to write 1,000,000 times, but every word's been wrong. I know I left you stranded with no life raft and no boat. But trust me, Ben, I've been branded and I'm drowning. I can't float. So with God as my witness, I'm falling to my knees. With God as my witness, I'm finding words, I'm choosing these. I love you, Benny. I love you, Ben. Will there ever be a day when I don't think of you and wish you were mine?
It's way past day 365, oh Kai, it's been too long. I think of you each Sunday at church, singing every hymn, every song. I hope you read this letter, I can send it if I'm brave, 'cause these days do not get better. I don't know how to behave. So with God as my witness, I'm reaching past my fear. With God as my witness, I'm hoping that somehow you'll hear. I love you, Kai, I love you past thought. I'm so sorry I never fought for you. I wish you were.
Oh, I'm falling, Benny.
I miss your laughter. Is there such a thing as happily ever after? You've stolen half my heart. These words won't be enough to tell you anything.
So with God as my witness, I'm praying you'll come back. With God as my witness, I'm holding it together so I won't crack. I love you.
I love your smile.
You're there. How you've been there for me. With you, I was the person I was meant
I
to.
was the person I was meant
I was the person I was meant
and
to.
I still dream of that person I meant to be. But these words simply aren't enough.
No, I'll never be enough.
I love the build, the last chunk of that song when you get to the duet section, and I also really like how you noticed that audience members, you may have noticed at the end when they sing about the person I'm meant to be, the way that you thread these musical and lyrical themes throughout the show, and we're gonna hear a bit of that in the next song we're gonna hear also. So I'm curious. The show has an interesting structure where we're basically following two lines simultaneously. One is, one that basically starts in the middle of the story when Benny and Kyle escape the conversion center, and the other going up to that middle of the story when they read from the beginning. And so I'm curious how you created that structure. Did you write the piece, did you write I can speak. Did you write an outline that was linear, following the whole thing, and then move the pieces around, or did you work both simultaneously?
It was pretty simultaneous.
Yeah.
Like we talked about earlier, it was like a really fast process to
Right.
get drafts done, and so I think I wrote the libretto in like a week, and
About a week.
Elspeth wrote all the music in like 2 weeks.
Yep.
So it was just kind of, and then and then we just kind of from there, when we went back to rewrite, we'd be like, oh, this moment needs this to add to it, to transfer into this moment more seamlessly. So yeah, it was pretty simultaneous though that we came up with the structure.
Definitely. It was kind of, I have to just compliment my writing partner for a minute and say that kind of the original structure, there was some finagling that we did kind of as we kept writing it with like, oh, this needs to go here, this needs to move here. But actually like the original structure was just so sound, like it just flowed so beautifully. Like we kind of just, reached a moment in the present where we needed to go into the past, and it just kind of went there. And yeah, she just kind of did that perfectly the first time.
It all flows very organically. So when you guys are writing, and I know you've been extremely prolific, given that you've only been writing together for what, 3 years, 3 years. Do you have a specific process when you're writing? Do you primarily write music first or lyrics first, or do you just sort of shout at each other from across the room and see what sticks, which is kind of how my writing partner and I work? Or does it just depend on the song?
Yeah, it depends a little bit on the song. I would say generally we're pretty kind of lyrics first. We tend to find that kind of, easier, I guess, with how both our minds kind of work. Yeah, we do a little bit of kind of back and forth. That comment made me very happy. Yes, we do a little bit of back and forth, usually kind of setting drafts back and forth. We actually, until a few weeks ago, were living on opposite coasts, so that was fun. So it's kind of a lot of set stuff.
You're back on this coast now.
Back on this coast now, which is very nice.
Welcome home.
Thank you so much. So yeah, doing it that way, that was kind of a little bit of sending drafts back and forth, but we tend to, our brains are wired very similarly, so we tend to kind of find the version that we want quite quickly, which makes things very easy. But yeah, usually it starts with
a writing partner.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
So before we close out, I've got one question for you, which is, this show is built as a road trip. Do either of you have any great road trip stories or memories you can tell?
I just drove cross country with a friend. That was how I got back from the opposite coast.
Okay.
I actually don't drive, so I was co-piloting, which makes it kind of ironic that this happened, but here we are. And that was pretty, I think the main thing that kept happening was we would kind of, be driving just in this car for like, up to maybe 8 or 10 hours a day. And by the end of it, we'd go a little bit delirious and just kind of get these moments where we couldn't stop laughing about things that probably weren't actually that funny. We also had a French bulldog with us, because my friend has a French bulldog, who just created quite a bit of chaos, but in the most adorable way. So that was, a very recent road trip experience of mine.
Excellent. So if people want to find more of your work online, they can look you up at appropriately coloredandrosenblatt.com. You also each individually have websites, which I think samrosenblatt.com and Elspeth is it elspethlcollard.com or elspethcollard.com?
Elspethcollard.com.
And it's theatrically Sam.
I'm sorry, it is theatrically Sam. My bad. And you also have an album's worth of songs you've written that people can hear on Spotify and wherever else music is streamed or downloaded or whatever the kids do with music these days. I don't know, I'm old. So we're gonna close this segment with the third and final song you said, which is the title song. And as I was saying, you weave these musical and lyrical themes throughout the show. So when we get to the last section of this song and we hear the run. Faster than a bullet, that people should know that that's a reprise of a theme that has shown up earlier in the show. So if you will give us a little bit of setup for that, and then we'll play the song.
Yeah, so this is our Act 1 finale, which you'll probably be able to tell by all 6 characters being on stage. And basically the moment right before this is Kai having a flashback to when her mother's telling her that she's going to the conversion therapy facility. And so Benny brings her back into the present, and they're kind of in conflict of if they're going to move forward, if they should go back. And all the ghosts of their past are surrounding them, trying to remind them and persuade them, I think, in different directions.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Sam, Elspeth, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I hope people have enjoyed this taste of Like the Wind. It's a very interesting show. I enjoyed reading it and listening to it a lot. And I look forward to seeing what happens with it in the future. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
For hosting us.
Absolutely.
We should stop soon for the night. Don't want to travel in the dark. Find a quiet place to stay. Catch a bus near a park or...
Kai, what if we're broken? Kai, maybe we shouldn't have run. My family...
Enough! We can't go back. I won't go back that hell. With the praying and saying I sinned, I'd rather be free with the wind, or answer to no one at all. I don't care if I'm going to fall, 'cause I won't be there. Jesus, Benny, don't you care? Don't you want to be like the wind? Like the wind. We can't give in. I refuse to just give up. I'm sick of dying and crying for love from someone caring that up above, who doesn't answer my prayers. I won't live in a world that despairs. Rather live out here. My God, Betty, don't live in fear. Don't you want to be like the wind? Like the wind. Winding through the trees, the breeze of the ocean's crest. No weight upon my chest to weigh me down. Do you want that too, Benny?
Wish you would, 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 alive. You're running fast, fast, faster than a bullet. Away, away, you're quickly forgetting. In your stable, letting go. You're spiraling down, spiraling down, spiraling down. Nothing to stop me pulling you down.
In this road, there's a world where we both free, where we're living and giving our best. Not scared of feeling some till we're dead. I'll walk the world I see. We can run with you, we're strong and free. We can be like the wind. Like the wind.
Is there anything better than a first act finale where all the characters on stage are singing different melodies and counterpoint? I'm not sure. Maybe Cheese, but a couple so thank you again to Sam and Elspeth for joining us and sharing their work with us tonight. Before we move on to the second half of tonight's presentation, I've got a few things I need to plug for the York. The first thing is you may have been noticing these little banners popping up saying text York to 44321 to donate or drop by our website. We are always happy to have your donations. We are a nonprofit theater. We put the non in nonprofit, as I like to say. And we have a couple of things coming up and a couple of other things to look out for. Last week, our whole summer season is streaming right now. Is going to be on streaming, that is. Last week, our associate artistic director, I can speak, I promise. Our associate artistic director, Jerry McIntyre, the mayor of Broadway, mayor of Hell's Kitchen, I think is what people call him, did and brought us an installment of his Unsung series where he talks to BIPOC creatives in the theater who you may not have known. Now, granted, the person he spoke to last week is someone you probably definitely know right now, which is the recently minted Tony winner, Pulitzer winner, and 2015 York Neo writer Michael R. Jackson. So that you can find on our YouTube account. Next week at this same time, our fearless leader, Jim Morgan, producing artistic director, will be doing a new installment of his Idol Chat series. That's Idol, I-D-O-L. It's a pun, get it? He speaks to idols in the theater. And he'll be talking with the great and the good Tom Jones, the book writer and lyricist behind The Fantastics and I Do, and 110 in the Shade, and many, many shows the York has been a part of. I had to count the other day, and I believe we have done 17 Tom Jones projects. Some of them are the same show more than once in different years and incarnations, but we've worked with Tom at least 17 times, which I think is pretty impressive. So come for that if you'd like to. That's going to be free like this one is. And then over the course of July, theater historian Charles Troy will be joining us again with 4 of his shows on musical theater history. And those are going to be happening each Tuesday evening in July. And those are going to be one about George M. Cohan, about Jerome Kern, about the creation of Showboat, and about the creation of The Music Man. And those presentations are $15 each, or $50 for the whole series. Or if you're a York Theater Company member, $10 each, or $30 for the whole series. So if you want that cheaper price, become a member. You can find that information on our website. If you want the more expensive price and don't want to become a member, that's okay too. We just get more of your money. So now that I've done all the plugs, if you're enjoying this, like and subscribe, or just like if you're watching it on Facebook. And next, we're going to go to the second half of this evening, and we're going to speak with composer, lyricist, librettist Michael Finke about his musical POWERLINE ROAD. And we're going to start with a song from that called After Tonight. And this, if it looks familiar, it's because this is actually the video that was created last year for the musical theater training program, where it's performed by student Ariana Jackman. Helps if I actually click on the video rather than just the banner saying what the video.
I don't know what's going on around me, but either way you found me, and I don't understand why you've got planned, because your army's going further to extraordinary measures, and all on your command. I'm backed up in a corner, just like before. But what if you're the one who's frightened more? Starting tonight. This is a fight I wasn't seeing. It's more than us disagreeing. It's bigger than I comprehend. And I can't pretend that while you're locked away inside your tower, I'm stuck here without the power to choose how this will end. I think your fear of losing is taking its toll, which must mean I'm the one who's in control. So after tonight, you're gonna see me fighting back, with no apology or pretense. I'm never going back to defense. Oh no, cause after tonight, I'm gonna go on the attack. So let them try to break the door down, cause I'm not taking any more now. Oh no, after tonight, get through the night. Of my own making, because I've been mistaking the role I'm supposed to play. I spent every day letting those around me make decisions, because I've never had the vision of someone who gets her way. I'm never gonna run again. And then I'll have a taste of freedom. Oh, after tonight, I'll never be afraid again. And things are gonna go my way now. The moment I break down your kingdom. After tonight.
A sword. Who doesn't love a sword? How are you,
Right?
Michael?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Where are you joining us from tonight?
I am joining you from Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Appropriate, considering.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about POWERLINE ROAD.
Sure. First, quick shout out to Sam and Elspeth. Those songs were wonderful. It was such a privilege getting to hear them. They were so great. POWERLINE ROAD is a musical of 4 separate short stories. 4 Floridians over the course of a very turbulent 24 hours. And it is told as a neo-noir musical with a synthwave score and a lot of choral narration. And essentially, you follow these 4 seemingly separate individuals kind of go through hell and back, all against the backdrop of seedy, sexy, glamorous South Florida.
As one does. And you mentioned the choral narration, which is a really fascinating part of this show that people are not going to get to hear tonight because we're hearing 3 solos. And I've just read the script. I've only heard a couple of songs from it, so I haven't actually gotten to hear any of that choral narration. So I look really forward to getting to hear that at some point.
Cool.
What was the impetus to tell this story? I know you're from Florida, so were you drawing on experiences you've had there? Or was this created sort of whole cloth? Or
it's a lot of things that were just kind of falling into place at a certain point in my life. I had been developing another project for a few years that with wonderful collaborators, but it was a really tough project and it wasn't bringing me a lot of joy. So I gave myself the assignment of just writing something purely for fun, just for me, you know. And then there was one of the 4 stories is the story of a wealthy woman who is on the run from her husband. They're each trying to serve the other one divorce papers first, because whoever gets it gets certain rights and privileges. And that is based on a true story that was happening to a friend of mine. And I thought, that sounds like a musical, but also it didn't sound like, it sounded bigger than a song, but maybe not a full-length show, which kind of gave the idea of like, well, what if there are different stories happening? Which then gave me the fun assignment of what are these stories? And also around the time, I just got really interested in the private prison system and how it worked and why it exists. So I thought maybe that could play a part in these stories. And then a really weird thing happened while I was early stages developing. I flew back to my hometown of Boca Raton, Florida for a friend's wedding. And when I left the airport, I was driving down I-95 and I saw that the biggest private prison company in America built their new headquarters across the street from my old high school. So much so they even built a new exit off the highway just for this building. And it was sort of like the universe saying, like, this is a thing you have to write about. So these other characters and other stories, they all kind of orbit around that. And then the style and the tone and the neo-noir and the synthwave, that was a bunch of other things happening at the same time that I don't have to go into, but in terms of the story, it was a lot of that.
Great. So we've got the story of the divorced woman on the run. We've got and then the other 3 stories are
yes. Do you want to go for it?
Let me see if I can remember them, because I did just read this script 2 days ago. So you've got the divorced woman on the run. You've got the Twitter troll, which we're going to hear from in a moment. You've got the political consultant, the speechwriter, and you've got the ex-con.
Yes.
Great.
Awesome.
So we're going to hear, so I'll let you tell a bit about the other 3 stories in a moment, but first we're going to hear a song from the story about the professional Twitter troll. And if you'd like to introduce that song to us.
Absolutely. So one of the stories is about a woman named Karen.
Appropriate.
Named Karen because of the way the word rhymes. There's no other. I actually got really annoyed when, anyways, that's fine. Neither here nor there. Karen is a professional, not nice person. She works at a Wendy's part-time as a cashier, and then she's just spending all the time on social media. And the show is broken up into 3 parts or 3 acts. So in part 1, one of her nemesis online approaches her about teaming up to break into a server farm. So a server farm is a warehouse where all our social media data is stored. So like, people don't realize it, but someone could burn down a building and your entire Instagram is gone, you know? And the idea is they hack into this.
Mine would not be missed.
Same here. So they team up to go into the server farm, even though they hate each other. And the idea is he has a plan and she just has to follow the instructions. And they break into the server farm and picture like an enchanted forest of wires and hard drives and neon lights. And she finds out that each hard drive has about, I forget the exact number, but like 15,000 users. So she is at work recoding, following the instructions, while also meeting thousands of users at a time. Important to know that she's also a huge stoner. So she's very stoned during the song. And there is a dance break in the middle where all the hard drives start dancing with her. And Amanda Sabin, who you're all going to hear from perform this song, made magic in those moments as well.
She does that. I'm not sure what we as a human race did in a previous existence to deserve Amanda Sabin in this one, but I'm glad we did it.
The voice of 1,000 demos, to be honest.
Yeah. and every concert ever.
Mm-hmm. So she's the hard drives.
I'm sorry. You finish your sentence.
I was just going to clarify. She's singing the song to the hard drives. That's all.
Okay. Here's Hello World.
I see you there, staring back at me, a realm of possibilities. Hello world, hello world.
All right, 122, I'm done. Plug in the code and move on to the next hard drive.
Hello, new friends that I barely know. I love the way you shine and glow. Hello, world. Hello, world. Connected. I am connected to something bigger. Connected. I am connected to you. And to you and you and you, I'm holding you in my hands, and you don't even know it, you don't know it yet, but very soon, all of you will see the woman I'm supposed to be. I can finally reach you, can finally hold you, can finally say I'm here. Hello world, hello world. Say hello, say hello, say hello. my whole life long. No one knew my name, but nothing's gonna be the same when the world says hello. Say hello.
Yeah, no notes.
No notes.
No. So tell us a bit then about the other two plots. We're going to hear. We don't hear. I think we're not hearing anything from the story about the political consultant tonight.
Yes.
But then we will hear one more song after this. But we'll talk a bit more first.
Yeah. So the other two stories, one of which is he works as like a associate campaign press secretary for a Florida senator running for re-election. He is an overly confident, loud and proud queer man who's from Florida. And we watch him. He's told he has the night off because he's in charge of the election watch gathering the next night. So he takes himself to Wilton Manors, which is famously known in Florida as Boys Town. It's one of the gayest cities in America. I think they had the first all LGBTQ city council I don't know. Anyways, there are bars everywhere, and so we see his name is Jacob. We see him bar hop, and then it eventually gets to some pretty in the tradition of noir, really heightened, dangerous stuff that he gets.
Dire situation, as it were.
Yes, very much so. And then, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, and then the fourth story. ...
Perfect. Yeah, the fourth story is about a guy named David, who you're going to hear from later. David was at the top of the show. He's released from a private prison facility. He for the selling and distribution and use of narcotics. But when he gets out, he can't find his girlfriend, and the girlfriend was his rock before he went in. And so it starts out as this mystery of where is she, trying to figure it out. At the end of part one, he thinks he spots her, but she acts weird and sort of runs away from him. And then he gets kind of tangled in some big conspiracy. That may or may not have to do.
Mysterious suitcase. And what is a noir story without a mysterious suitcase?
Exactly, right?
Exactly. So before we go to the usual socials, plugs, and last song, I have a question for you, which is, you're from Florida, and this show is set in Florida. What is the most Florida moment you have experienced? Because Florida does have a certain reputation, Florida man and all. So I'm just curious, what is the most Florida moment you've experienced that you're willing to tell us about?
This is such a tricky question because Florida is like its own planet. South Florida and North Florida are constantly voting to separate as a state. It's just utter chaos, and I love it so much. And so I always feel the need to defend Florida, despite the reputation it has at the moment.
I've only been to Orlando, so I don't count. So, and Orlando, yeah.
Okay. The most Florida thing that I can think of. This is an impossible question. There's so many different parts of Florida. I guess one thing I could say is
any crocodile encounters?
Well, yes, we had to have crocodile warnings in our neighborhood, like keep your dogs on a leash. That was a thing. And for many years after I moved to New York, whenever I mentioned Boca Raton, the common response was, "Oh, my grandpa lives there." And I was like, "I know."
My great aunt lives there.
Really?
Yeah, I think she lives in the Boca area somewhere.
That's
one of those places where all the old Jews congregate.
That's amazing. Yes, I think that's the most consistently Florida thing. But Florida is a coat of many colors.
Yes, it is.
Many fascinating attributes. I will say it was customary for after prom growing up, people would just go to the beach. And I don't think that's everywhere. It's like a cute little thing about Florida. I don't know.
I think that's sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So people can find you online at michaelfinkmusic.com, on Twitter at MikeFink, and on Instagram at MC Fink. Do you have anything you want to plug beyond those socials, or?
I can say that I have an album coming out in the fall with Broadway
Excellent.
Records.
I was going to ask you about that because I kickstarted that like 5 years ago.
I know. What's so crazy is that we actually recorded most of the musicians in Sweden, of all places, in February 2020. And then the decision was, we made the call, like we could do the remote recording thing, but it was like, that's not how we want to do this. We want to do it the right. So we jump-started last fall, but now because so much time has passed, we're adding new songs. Shelby Rassler, who's this brilliant young Emmy-nominated composer, she arranged a bunch of songs, new songs that are added for it. And so this is the summer where we begin that rollout. And it's going to come out in the fall. It's such a weird experience because I've never had a process take a 1.5 year long break. And I don't recommend it because it can drive you a little nuts, but it's going to be awesome. It's going to be worth it. The arrangements are killer. And the folks we're getting are pretty awesome too. I'm
looking really forward to that. And I'm looking really forward to getting to eventually hear more from POWERLINE ROAD. So we're going to play this last song now. And then we'll say farewell. And this last song is Nowhere to Go. And would you give us a little setup on that, please?
Sure. So as we mentioned, there's an ex-con named David. And in part 1, he was released from prison. He is on parole. He has to be on his best behavior, of course. But he goes through this quest to find his missing girlfriend. And on this quest, little pieces come together. He gets handed a package that his fingerprints are now all over that he can't get rid of. It is filled with substances he shouldn't be having that he used to use. And at the end of part 1, it's a little small cliffhanger of him thinking he sees his girlfriend and her weird response. So this song, Nowhere to Go, kicks off part 2. It's the first song in the second act. And it's about the experience he had at this prison. There's an important lyric in part 1 where he says this prison in particular was different and worse than the ones before, and he expands on that. And then and hearing about how he's trying to move on from it.
Great. So Michael, thank you so much for joining us tonight, and enjoy Nowhere to Go.
I would lie awake, crying in a corner, pretending that I was fast asleep, locked up in a room with nothing left to lose, no secrets left to keep. I was all alone in a messed up prison, where sober got harder every day, where all the guys would deal because the guards would look the other way, like they knew what was happening, what was going on. And when the junk came out, all the rules were gone. But I held on, 'cause I knew if I got up, I would feel the ocean right beside me. And now I know what life's about. It's a battle that will always live inside me. And now there's a world to discover, but I didn't know I'd be stranded here with nowhere to go. I was in a place where the ones in charge wanted nothing more than to see me fail, so they tried to break me down in a living hell they called a jail, where the loneliness kills you and it takes its toll. and that's how they expect you to lose control. But I kept control, 'cause I knew to get out alive, I'd have to forget the ones who doubt me. But now I know I can survive without someone who gives a shit about me. On the horizon, there's someone I used to know, but I'm unsure, nowhere to go, nowhere to go, nowhere to go, nowhere to go. I saw you, and I watched you walk away. When you saw me, and the price I had to pay, I saw you, I saw you, you saw me, and you turned and ran away. Now I'm here and I'm alone, and I'm scared that I'll mess up again. It's a fear that I've always known. It's not a matter of if, but when. Now you're gone, and now that I'm out, I am free to be the fuck that I am. Now you know without a doubt that I'm here, but you don't give a damn. And now there's the world to discover that I didn't know. I'd be standing here and abandoned here, but I'm landed here with nowhere to go, nowhere to go.
Well, I think that's a pretty lovely melody to end the evening on. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you so much to Michael Finke, Sam Rosenblatt, and Elspeth Collard for sharing their work with us tonight. Follow those social media links if you want to learn more about their work, or if you just want to see what they look like again. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to the York's YouTube channel. If you're watching this on Facebook, please like the video and like our Facebook page. I say this every time, I'm going to say it again. One of the big things that attracted me to the York Theater Company when I first started going to see shows here, almost 24 years ago, in 1998, was the dedication to new musicals, because I believe there is nothing better in this world than new musical theater. And I've believed that almost as long as I can remember, certainly back through high school, which is when I started going to the York. And I like to think that in my continuing term as literary manager, I have been on staff a little over 10 years now in various capacities, having previously been an intern and a pest and an audience member and a script reader, and now they actually pay me a little. But I like to think that in my term as literary manager, I have been a good steward of that dedication to the creation and the development and the support of new musical theater. And I hope that you agree with me. Both that I've been good, but more about the York's dedication. So thank you again for joining us. I've got dinner waiting for me, so I'm going to take off. So have a good evening, and I will be back doing another one of these on August 2nd. So I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Good night.